Hey everyone. Just gonna wait minutes for people to please mute your microphones. Let me see if I can get this.
Mute. That's right.
Want to come see how they're mad? Come on.
Hey guys, when everybody comes in, please mute your microphones.
Look at them.
Wow.
It was me in my car. After my car went a little bit on it, I kicked it.
Okay.
See the kick mark there? Now, love you.
Hey everyone, how's everybody doing?
How are you doing?
I'm doing swell. Thank you so much for asking.
Good. Doing well, doing well.
Thank you guys so much for joining me. Happy Sunday. Sorry, I'm a little bit distracted trying to figure out how to mute everybody because I didn't do it as a requirement before y'all came in. So
Going everywhere.
tell me where you guys are from. I want to know where everybody's tuning in from.
Michigan, California.
Okay, type it in the chat, guys. Everybody go on mute and type it in the chat just so that we can have some consistency. But I'm going to share my screen quick. The form that I want you guys to make sure you have open, because we're going to fill out a form together during this masterclass. And it's going to be in your Kajabi folder back here. So it says we'll be filling out this form together during the masterclass. Make sure you have it open. And it's a, whoever is not muted, please mute your microphone. Can anybody see who that is? Because I'm looking for them and I can't see them.
Looks like they just muted.
Okay, perfect. So there's a form called Emotional Self-Mastery for Men. And I just want you to have that open so that we can go ahead and start that whenever we're ready. Okay? Everybody Gucci on that? Awesome, guys. Okay, so first things first, the first 3 questions on there, I just want you to fill that out. Super simple. So the name, email, if you're in a quiet space where you can focus, or kind of what your environment's like right now. And then, you know, kind of why you're here. What brought you to this masterclass? What are your expectations? Maybe what you're expecting to learn. And we can kind of go from there. And then when everybody is ready, we can go ahead and get started. The form is in the back end of your Kajabi portal. So you should have a login link to the Kajabi website, and it will be in there. Just going through and muting some of these last people.
What am I talking about?
Thank you guys for your patience on this. I really appreciate it. Hey guys, whoever is not muted, please mute your mic. I'm trying to find everybody who's not, but I guess we have some who are being elusive.
You should have a mute all thing option there, Elsie.
Yeah, I'm looking for it. I'm not sure. Hang on. Does anyone have specific directions to help me with this?
Where you see participants, you should be on that same box up above.
Ah, okay, hang on. Mute all. Oh my God. You guys literally just saved me. Thank you so much for that. Okay, now we can get started unencumbered. That was stressing me out so much. Thank you guys so much. Okay, who's ready to actually get started? Thumbs up. Okay, perfect. Let's begin. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to get going. Everybody have their form out? Everybody have the first few questions? Perfect, great. So, welcome to the Emotional Self-Mastery for Men Masterclass. Today, this masterclass is meant to be a foundation for healing, so you can understand your mind and body in a way that helps you heal anxiety, stress, burnout, be more present in your life, your relationships, and become a better husband, father, leader, and man for yourself and your community. So I'm really excited to get started today. And if you're new here, the first thing I just want to get out of the way is who the hell am I and why do I care? Because some of you are like, she's a woman, why is she coaching men? And why does she think that she can even coach men? So I just want to give you a tiny little background that I've been coaching men for the last 3.5 years. And I actually got started by doing my own healing journey, right? I was struggling with a lot of things. I went to therapy, and although therapy helped me feel better, I still found myself getting caught in these cycles where it didn't fully seem fixed. And so that's when I dove into my own neuroscience courses, relationship courses, REBT, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. It was anything under the sun that you could think of, and I did it. And by doing that, I learned that you can actually have a formula for solving trauma and healing pain, and it doesn't have to take you 10 years to do it. And so when I found that out, I said I have to share this with people, and I started posting video content to LinkedIn. And it was only men who reached out to me for help. So I learned 2 things with that. Number one, I was a lot more like a guy than I thought I was, apparently. And number 2, that men don't have a lot of support when it comes to mental health. And once I started seeing that, I was determined to be that outlet. And so from then on, I started studying the problems that men go through, how they learn, how they like to solve things. And I started crafting this formula by working with men over these 3.5 years to help them get the best results for success. Because I believe that even if it's not our fault, what we've gone through and what we struggle with, it's still our responsibility so that the next generation of men or women or children doesn't have to suffer the consequences because we just didn't know what we didn't know, you know, kind of like we had to. So today, this is going to give you a foundation for healing what you don't know about yourself. So who is ready to become a better man? I want to just see some thumbs up. Awesome, guys. So I'm going to take you on a journey, the journey of a man from what I've seen. And you can just let me know if you kind of resonate, if you agree. And just to double check, you guys can see my screen, right? Okay, perfect. So this is Bob. His name is Jim Bob, but we'll call him Bob for short. And Bob, he follows the rules. He kind of goes with the status quo, and Bob works all day. That's kind of like his day-to-day status quo. Bob eventually meets someone he loves, marries them, and he becomes a family man. And he is ecstatic because this is exactly what he thought how life was supposed to go. Grow up, get a job, find someone you love, get married, and be the family man that supports that family. But as that family grows, he has to work harder to provide for the family. And you can see he's at the desk praying for that bag, right? Sometimes he's stressed out of his mind, but this is exactly what he had imagined. So he doesn't necessarily mind it. And this is his idea of success. He wants this to be good, so he's doing his absolute best. And ultimately, he's successful in that, right? The family is provided for. So he thinks that he's reached the ultimate level of success, but then Bob is unhappy because suddenly Bob doesn't have any motivation and he feels burnt out. He's lost the mojo. He doesn't seem to have a mission or a purpose. He's kind of tired 24/7. He constantly fights with his spouse, his partner, his friends even. He constantly feels like he's being berated. He needs to have a drink just to sleep or to relax. Maybe he has to smoke a ton of weed, something to get his mind to shut off. He feels the weight of the world on his shoulders. But most of all, he feels alone, isolated, like he doesn't really have anyone to talk to, because the story of Bob is the story of many men out there who think all of this is a man's duty. That if you cry, you're weak. If you rely on people, they're going to think you're a pussy. That if your spouse sees you failing, they're going to leave you. So all of these things are things he does to cope. But how did we get here? Because we did exactly everything that society told us we should do to be successful, that we should do to be happy. And then this is the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. How do we get out? So what I'm going to teach you today is the science behind why you ended up here, how to eliminate and prevent stress, anxiety, burnout, the secret to keeping calm in arguments with your spouse and children, and how to truly be stoic and become the man you were destined to be. Essentially, how not to be Bob, or how to fix the path of Bob if you're already there. And I just want to share with you one of my client examples, because I think you can relate. Adam goes, I first started working with Elise at a time when I was operating my business in a state of chaos and disorder. Who has operated their business in a state of chaos and disorder, or their life in a state of chaos and disorder? As opposed to objective certainty and goal-oriented action. With her guidance, I've been able to set forth upon a clear path towards rethinking my relationship with my own business, allowing myself to heal and forgive, and finding joy within both my personal and professional lives. Who wants to find joy within both their personal and professional lives? Because I know I definitely did at the beginning of my journey. I found basically no joy. I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off. So how do we fix this? Now we're going to get into the science. So be forewarned, this part is very intense. And any questions that you guys have, I'm going to take breaks in between, but I just want you to really, really listen and pay attention to the screen and my little video bubble, because I'm going to be doing some stuff with my hands that I want you to watch. So what we're going to be talking about today is self-regulation. This is the act of understanding your mind and body in a way that you can control emotions and activate different parts of your brain. So just like we can understand logically something, right? We think, I am sad, I am angry, I need to work out, I need to get up 5 minutes earlier. Sometimes we just don't do it. And then we think, well, why don't I do it? Well, the answer lies in the body. Because what we don't understand is that even though our mind is always assessing the environment, so is your body. It's constantly sensing whether it's safe or not, depending on its past experiences, depending on its past memories. And so today we're going to figure out how to combine the two, because if your body is telling your brain one thing and your brain is trying to tell your body another, you're going to constantly face friction. So we're going to mold those together today so you can be in total control. And what I learned in trauma therapy is we explain it in the story of something called Hulk versus Bruce Banner. Now, has you guys know who Hulk is, right? Can I get like a head nod? Right. Hulk smashed. There's no thinking, there's no process, there's no system, there's nothing. All right, Hulk is up here. And then there's Bruce Banner. He's calm, he's cool, he's collected. He thinks things through. And this represents your window of tolerance. Now, most of the time we should be in Bruce Banner, right? We should be down here because there's no threat, right? When we're just sitting in our room right now, you know, nothing is going on, nothing is exploding. Like, we should be calm. We should be in Bruce Banner. But some of us got kids running around, and some of us have a lot of bills to pay, and some of us have a spouse that's pissing us off. So then our baseline becomes just a little bit higher. But the closer our baseline gets to Hulk, the easier it is to get into Hulk. And what happens when you get into Hulk is you get into fight or flight. And does anybody know what happens when you get into fight or flight in the body? I can't see the chat, by the way, so I hope you're typing answers and I'll have to look after. I guess I faked you all out there. So whoever's guessing, I'll have to look after. But yes, when you get into fight or flight mode, a chemical flood is released in the body of cortisol, adrenaline, to make you more sensitive to the environment so that you can survive. So it makes sense too, if you're being chased by a lion or whatever, you're not exactly stopping to smell the roses. You're not exactly stopping to say, wow, look at how blue the sky is. No, you're trying not to get murdered, right? So the thing is, we're not being chased by lions anymore. Now we have deadlines. Now we have fights with our spouses. Now we have people who are cutting us off on the freeway, right? So those little triggers every day can send us into Hulk mode. But the thing about that is, once you get that chemical flood, you're sensitive for the next 24 to 48 hours. So now connect this to our relationships. You get in a fight with your spouse, all of a sudden you guys start screaming at each other. Both of you are in fight or flight mode, yelling at each other. Both of you have the chemical flood. A couple hours goes by, you apologize, you make up, you think everything is okay. But then all of a sudden, oh my God, somebody doesn't put their socks in the hamper. Hulk is released again, right? And it shouldn't be that big of a deal because it's just socks. So you think, why are we fighting over this stupid stuff? But you fight again and again and again, and it becomes this cycle that you feel like you can't escape. Because when we're in Hulk, everything is magnetized. Because when you're sensitive to the environment, because you're trying to survive, everything feels so big. And that's not just with relationships, it's with everything you're kind of going through. When you're in Hulk mode, everything feels so big, so overwhelming. Like you can't escape it, like you can't get out of it, like it's too much. So our goal today is going to be to teach you not just how to come down from Hulk, but how to prevent Hulk when it's not necessary, because Hulk is a good thing. When Hulk needs to smash, Hulk should have to smash. But most of the time we should be in Bruce Banner. So is this making sense so far to everybody? I'm going to take a quick peek at the chat just to make sure. Awesome, guys. Love this. Going into the next phase. I'm in Hulk mode while being in Bruce Banner. Okay? I'm not sure what that means, but yes. Love this, guys. Okay, awesome. So now we're going to go into the next part. A little bit deeper. This is going to explain even further why this is important to understand, because you might be thinking, Elise, why do I even care about Hulk versus Bruce Banner? My body and my mind, this still sounds so weird to me about why this would help me out in my life. Because when you're in Hulk mode, obviously it's impacting your brain. When you're totally chill and relaxed, every part of your brain center is lit up, which means you're able to use the functions that you need to. But when this part is triggered, the limbic brain, fight, flight, freeze, stress response, it shuts this part down. It's exactly what I was explaining before about when you're running from a lion, you don't see the blue sky. So when you're stressed out of your mind, when Bob is working those extra hours trying to support his family, the prefrontal cortex is shut down if he doesn't understand, like if he keeps getting stressed out of his mind, right? If he has to drink every night, if he has ADHD-like symptoms, all of these things are shut down. Now, when we look at this, they're pretty important, right? Empathy, insight, response flexibility, emotion regulation. Who here has just like started crying at something small after they've held back their tears for like many years and thought, oh my God, I don't know why I'm crying right now, or gotten so angry and they don't know how to control their anger. We don't have good emotion regulation because we're not in control of our body at that point. The chemical flood is too much. Our body regulation's out of whack. Loss of morality, loss of intuition. How many people here want to find purpose and passion again? How many people in here want to find their mission, want to have a zest for life? attuned communication, and fear modulation. When the prefrontal cortex is shut down, these senses are weakened. And that's why it is so important for you guys. This is why I have this as the very first masterclass to share with all of you, why I made it 99 cents. Because if we don't have this, anything else I could possibly teach you, any other piece of content that I have about mother wound, father wound, purpose, passion, relationships, it's not going to get through because this is lit up. And I know it's lit up because how many people here are sitting here thinking, oh, I feel totally safe, but you're shaking your leg a million miles a minute, or your jaw is clenched, or your shoulders are hunched. I'm calling you out. I know exactly what's happening right now because you're in a stress response and you don't understand it. I'm just going to look at the chat quick and see what everybody's looking at, talking about. You want to stop being comfortable and start being happy. Exactly. Yes to passion and purpose. Internal needs not being met. Exactly. And this is the thing too. If the prefrontal cortex is not able to be engaged, you won't be able to pick up on the tries of your partner, right? Like if your partner is trying in a relationship and you're stuck in this state, you won't see it. You won't see small things. You won't see connected things. So it really has a huge impact on everything. And if they're in this state, you're going to have the same thing. Okay, I could really go into this. One other thing I want to point out, we always say that women are more intuitive than men, right? But I have to argue a point. What if women had just always felt safe because men were the natural protectors? Men have been trained to protect. So it's not that men don't have intuition, it's that their prefrontal cortex naturally, it just shuts down more because they go into fight or flight mode more because they're always ready. Is this making sense with everybody here? Check with my chiropractor, oh my God, kinesiologist. Stop being on autopilot. Yes, absolutely. I'm so glad. And I'm taking these little breaks, guys, because I know it's a lot of information. But we're going to go on to the next slide now. My dad is not so emotional, but he cries in movies. Why is that? Well, we'll get to that. I love these questions and I love these comments, guys. Keep it up. We're going to go on to the next slide. And we're just going to do a quick comparison of Hulk versus Bruce Banner so that it just makes sense in a very lined up way. So Hulk, constantly on the move, feeling overwhelmed or extreme fatigue, maybe has passive aggressive behavior, lashes out at their partner. You have to fidget, shake your leg. You can't really sit still. Maybe got to be walking around. Who brushes their teeth and just has to walk around the house? I see you. You can't stand by the sink for 30 seconds brushing your teeth. You got to walk around and play with laundry and stuff. Takes you 15 minutes to brush your teeth because you can't even stand by the sink. I see you. I'm calling you out. There's someone in here who does this. Okay? Stomach issues, body aches. These things will show up physically. What you hide emotionally will show up in physical modalities in your body. Usually what I see with men is stomach issues. Feeling like you can't trust people or open up to people. You're constantly surrounded by chaos. If your life is chaotic, I got news for you, and it's that your internal world is chaotic. You probably already know it, but just in case you don't know it, you're the chaos. On the other hand, when you get into Bruce Banner mode, you will feel generally calm. You're going to be non-reactive. You'll be able to think things through before responding. Little things aren't going to be a big deal. You won't care about the socks. It won't matter. You'll be able to see other people's perspectives without it feeling like an attack. Your partner comes to you. They say, hey, this is bothering me. You say, okay, let me think about that. I can see your perspective. Whereas before it's like complete defense mode, right? We're able to bounce back from stressful moments easily. And we generally have a good, positive outlook on life. And so everybody has that form. And I just want you to fill out the next question, which is like, what do you feel like makes you Hulk in that form? There's going to be check boxes that you can check off as many as you can. not as many as you can, as many as you feel, don't lie about it, and see, just fill that out. Wow, Jerry, he's been playing Bruce Banner in a show for the last 2 weeks. That's crazy. That's awesome. Can dating, women, affection, sex solve any of this? I'm going to get to all the questions after. There's going to be a Q&A. But I love these. I create chaos. I'm glad you admit it. That's awesome. Stomach issues, 100%. See, I'm telling you, I've been doing this for a while, guys. I know exactly what's going on. I feel I hold these stressors pretty well and mostly in check mentally. My stomach, on the other hand, tells a different story on how I'm truly managing stress. That's a very good point to make out, right? That's exactly what I'm saying. Mentally, we think we're okay. Logically, men are very logical, right? You guys know how to solve problems. You want an action step, but you're not connecting the mind and the body, because the body has its own sense of well-being. And once you start bridging the gap, you truly understand what well-being is like, because you think that logically you're telling yourself how you are and how you act, but you're not. Your body is telling your brain how to act and respond. So once everybody's filled out just that one question in the form, I'm going to go on to the next slide. So now we're going to talk about just another step in this, the window of tolerance, what I mentioned before, Hulk versus Bruce Banner, right? Now, just window of tolerance, it's a term used to describe the zone of arousal in which a person is able to function most effectively. So whatever's in between here that like can tick you off, but like not put you in Hulk, that's kind of your like window of tolerance, right? And it's just something that was created by Dan Siegel. And in your follow-up workbook, I actually go into this in depth a little bit more. We're not going to get too far into it, but I wanted to bring it up because when you are coping with stress, your tolerance can be widened significantly depending on how you cope with it, right? When we're in Hulk mode, our stress tolerance is very small. When we're in Bruce Banner, it widens. And the more you attune your body to safety, the wider it will get, because you will be in reality with what's actually safe versus what your body thinks is safe based on your past experiences. And I wanted to explain this to you guys, because for men, now this is not a scientific article. I have to point this out. This is what I've pulled from my knowledge of studying men for the last 3.5 years, of certain characteristics, certain patterns. If a man has been in Hulk for so long and he hasn't learned how to tolerate things enough, like his fuse is so short, he learned that the best way to survive was fight or show dominance. So he's typically going to feel angry, have the uncontrollable outbursts of emotion. He's going to tend towards violence or crime, things like self-harm, escape with drugs, alcohol, porn, ADHD-like symptoms, a constant need to be busy. And he usually outsources his regulation to things, because when I'm talking about self-regulation is the act of regulating ourselves, right? We take control of how we regulate, but the body needs to be regulated no matter what. So whether you know it or not, you are regulating some way, somehow. So if you're the guy who's drinking every night to try to regulate, if you're masturbating every day to try to regulate, if you're going on a lot of dates, if you're smoking a lot of weed, that's stereotypically what I've seen in this pattern. He outsources his regulation to things, to gaining the material, to work. And he's a stereotypical avoidant. He doesn't really take accountability, right? And if you've got too much tolerance, this is what I say for people who say, oh no, I'm chill. Like I'm calm when chaos is around. I'm the calm one. You're still in Hulk, but you're surviving in a different way, which is the flight or the fawn. I need to be the one who keeps things calm. I need to make sure everybody else's needs are met. And that's how I will survive in this environment, right? Fight versus flight or fawn. So this is the guy who's overtly helpful. He's a typical nice guy. This is the guy who has the tendency for anxiety, depression, maybe has experienced PTSD or CPTSD. And not that this guy doesn't have this, but this guy will usually admit it and he will seek help for it because this guy has learned I'm responsible, I'm the problem. This guy has learned the world is the problem and I need to go against it and fight my way through it. So this guy tends to be the typical nice guy. He tends to be a passive aggressive, lacks his own sense of boundaries, and he outsources his regulation to people. So like I explained before, I need to make sure they're okay and then I'm okay. As long as everybody in the room is okay, I'm okay. And stereotypically, he's an anxious attachment style. So when other people in the room aren't okay, he's like, yo. And stereotypical avoidant is like, I don't care if anybody else is okay. I'm just going to go and be by myself because then I know I'm okay. So does anybody resonate with any of this? Just out of curiosity. I want to see in the chat. A mix of both. Yeah, you definitely can be a mix of both. I mean, I really put it into strong personality categories, but both of these things are signs of Hulk mode and fight or flight. But some of you will gravitate towards one or the other. I'm glad that you guys can resonate with this because this was really me studying. If you're a mix of both, you might be an anxious avoidant attachment style, where sometimes you go back and forth. The freeze, I would say, is also down in the bottom. Anxious avoidant, too much section, no more Mr. Nice Guy, too much stress, not enough tolerance all the time. Definitely a mix of both, but I lean heavily towards too much. Okay, awesome, guys. Thank you so much. Okay, guys. And so in the Google form, it should have a section where you can just fill out one or the other. And the reason why I'm having you guys fill this form out live is because you put your email in and it gets sent back to you. So you can see your own data. And I just think that that's super cool if you can see your own data and the results from it. And then I will share the data of the group, obviously anonymously. No one's going to have names or anything, but you'll see a pie chart. You'll see like the results and see how everybody kind of compares in this group. So once everybody has kind of filled out that form in the Google form, I think there's 2 questions. Let me know. The form should have sections. Okay, there are 3 questions. Awesome. Okay, guys, give it 20 more seconds. Awesome. So we're just going to move on to the next slide, which is how does it impact relationships? And I know I explained a little bit about this earlier, but this is where it gets really interesting. How it applies to relationships is understanding that your nervous system is constantly assessing the environment for safety, yeah? And so its idea of safety is what's familiar. If you grew up in a very dysfunctional environment, or just an environment where your needs maybe weren't met, or an environment where you're maybe a little bit of 1, a little bit of 2, that's what your brain and your body associates with safety. Okay? From a young age, when we're born, we don't know how the world works. Human babies are the most useless species on the planet, right? Like we come out and we need our parents to take care of our needs immediately. We don't understand. So we're soaking in as much information as we possibly can. We are wired to receive love and acceptance from our caregivers to survive. This is what drives me crazy about people say, oh, we're better off alone. You need to love yourself before you can love anybody else. We're born into relationship before we are born self-sufficient. So remember, you're a baby. You don't know how the world works. Now you have a template. Mom and dad might have been stressed out. Maybe they didn't have very good upbringing. Maybe they just didn't know because nobody is perfect, right? And there are little gaps. So little boy Bob, 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old, he has to fill in those gaps somehow because his brain says, get these people to love me immediately, or I won't get fed, or I won't get changed. They won't like me. So whatever the caregivers needed in that moment, you did. You observed with your body because, right, our brain is not logically processing, oh, mom and dad are having a bad day. No, it's your body sensing the environment, picking up the energy from the parents, okay? And it solidifies that as the foundation for the rest of your life until you change it. So now we're in here, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, with a 5-year-old template. I bet none of you realize this. You've been walking around with a 5-year-old template. That's why logically you can say, this person's not good for me. But your body sensed their nervous system as familiar to yours. And your body said, oh, this is familiar. This is safe. This is what I grew up with. Now I'm going to give a dopamine kick to myself to stay attached to this person. That's what we call a trauma bond. So I'm going to be staying attached to this person, and it's going to feel painful to leave because leaving is now associated with death. Because now our nervous system is sensing we are going away from survival. Is this making sense to everybody? That's how I felt when my marriage was ending. Very much, yes, scary truth. I'm glad that you guys are really resonating with this. Yeah, the pathology is disturbing. Yeah, it's crazy how just being wired for survival can impact us, because humans, we have the ability to think about things. We have a consciousness, right? We're not just doing things in a pattern. We're not just operating biologically. So when we now have to say, wait a minute, I need to actually control my biological drive, that's where it becomes hard, but it's also where we can take control. So some of you aren't resonating with this, which not everybody will, but at least if you understand that whatever environment you grew up in, that's the foundation for your learning. That's the foundation for your tolerance. That's the foundation wherever you are in the window of tolerance, Bruce Banner versus Hulk, whatever. Everybody in their life has something that triggers them. Everybody in their life has a situation they don't like, where they yell at someone and they feel bad about it. They feel shame about it. Everybody in here has a fear that seems irrational sometimes. Fear of heights, fear of speaking in public, right? Fear of speaking in public is higher than the fear of death. It's irrational because fear of speaking in public, you're safe. Unless you're like the president, right? Then you're not safe. And they still do it. So they must know something we don't, right? They know how to regulate their nervous system. So take from this what you can, even if you didn't grow up in a dysfunctional environment. Okay, just reading some of the comments. There's regret and shame about this persona, avatar foundation, hard to overcome. Okay. That's the thing I need to figure out, how my growing up led to this current situation. Fear is part of the survival template. Yes, I mean, fear is definitely part of your survival template. That's, you know, how we avoid death, how we avoid anything. It sounds like someone just unmuted, and I'm just going to ask you to mute. How do you know when it's time to move on? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to actually go to the next slide, because I'm going to teach you guys how to get out of this. And then you will become masters of your mind again, and you will be able to understand all of your own questions. Like, you'll be able to answer them. Okay. So regulating the nervous system. Who's ready to learn how to overcome this? Can I just get like a 1 in the chat? Everybody just give me a 1. Because like, I know we just did a lot of talking, and I'm ready to like actually do the exercise now. Awesome. Okay, guys, so we're going to get started with that. Self-regulation. First thing we're going to do is we're going to get present. How can you look at this guy and not feel immediately like Buddha? This guy living his best life. All right. I want to be him when I get older. So first thing we're going to do is going to get present. So this is the process, right? We're just going to bring awareness to our body. Where is there tension in your body? You know, do you have stiff shoulders? Is your back hurting? Are you hunched watching the computer right now? So I just need you to straighten up and just take note of where your body is at. And then can you name how you feel? Is there a feeling associated with it? If you can't, that's okay. I just want to know. And then I want you just to take a deep breath. I just want you to consciously relax every muscle in your body. Okay. Shake it out. And then we're going to do a couple exercises. Before we do that, I want you to go to the Google form, and there's a question on there that says, on a scale of 1 to 10, how stressed out are you right now? I might have skipped the window of tolerance one, and I apologize about that. If you can fill it out, that's awesome. But I just want you to get to the self-regulation one. So I'll just give you a second. I'm going to read the chat, see what everybody's saying. We have somebody feeling aches and pains, feeling lonely and disconnected. Someone feels dissociated, okay, tired, calm and open-minded, confused. Their neck and back is stiff. Lower backache, tension along spine, okay. Good, guys, good awareness. And if everybody could just fill out the form on a scale of 1 to 10, how anxious you feel in this moment. Maybe not even how anxious, but how like irritated or how opposite of calm. And chances are after doing this, you might feel a little bit calmer. And if so, I actually want to do a little experiment. I don't want you to get too anxious, but if you could think of something that maybe like pissed you off earlier this week, somebody cut you off, or, you know, maybe the reason why you joined the masterclass, because I just want you to feel the difference in your body of something that made you upset or angry. Okay. And now we're going to do the exercise. So we're going to do a couple exercises together. And then after that, I want you to fill out, you know, if your body did anything to change, right? If you felt less anxious after it. So first thing we're going to do is box breathing. This is a super simple breathing exercise, and I just tweaked it a little bit myself so that we're going to exhale out of our mouth for 6 seconds. And so I'll guide you through this 4 times just to keep it consistent. And we're going to start now. So we're going to breathe in for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6. Okay. So on the count of 3, we're going to breathe in. 1, 2, 3, breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4, hold for 1, 2, 3, 4, and then exhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4, hold 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. Breathe out. And breathe in. Hold. And breathe out. And on this exhale, I want you to exhale as much air as you possibly can and just hold it for just 3 seconds. And then I want you to take a big deep breath and exhale and just drop everything. Drop your shoulders, drop your jaw, drop your neck. We're just going to sit here for a second. I want you to feel the stress and the tension just go away. Or feel it bubble up. Whatever's coming to you, I don't want you to run away from it. I want you to observe it without judgment. After this first tiny exercise, what is everyone thinking? Until that, I didn't even realize I had tension in my jaw. Exactly, we don't even know. My back always feels better after a big exhale. That's awesome. You know, that tells me you store a lot of tension in your back. I feel like I should be doing these breathing exercises more often. You feel like a million hugs. You feel relaxed. Didn't know I had my shoulders shrugged. Exactly. Okay, this is excellent. And I know this is just like a super quick exercise. Like, it's so easy, right? Breathing is just like so easy, so stupid simple. But I want you to understand the science behind this is the fact that it's not about breathing or yoga or tapping or anything like that. It's about the fact that you're telling your body that it's okay to relax. It's okay to feel safe. When we talk about crying and being vulnerable and how people call men weak when they're crying, you have to think about the act of crying is releasing stress and tension. And if the act of crying makes us weak and vulnerable, it's actually a symbolism of saying, I feel safe enough right now to cry, to show you my weakness, to show you my vulnerability, because I trust that you're not going to hurt me. And I also know that's why a lot of men feel very anxious when trying to share with their female partners because they haven't felt that safety and that warmth. But eventually, the body must regulate itself, right? So eventually, the tears come up, the emotions come up at some point, and you can't hold back. And so when we feel like we're rejected in that environment, it really makes us feel unsafe to be ourselves, to be a human. And that's why I wanted to teach you a lot of these exercises today, and the brain and the nervous system and why it partners with what, because if you have partnered with someone who does not accept you for who you are, who does not allow your vulnerability, you have partnered with someone who does not make you feel safe and who is not safe for you. Your nervous system has recognized that person as someone perfect for you, for your survival, which tells me that you grew up in an environment that did not accept your vulnerability. So we do these exercises to readapt our body to safety, because right now there's no threat. And whatever comes up for you is okay. And when you can do that enough times, suddenly true safety becomes the new normal. Bruce Banner becomes the new normal. And you no longer resonate with people who reject you. You no longer resonate with people who don't accept your vulnerability. And you no longer reject your own vulnerability, because you understand when you're safe and when you're not. And you understand that you can control your ability to be vulnerable and to cry. Because when we run away from emotions, they are our master, right? Because whenever you run away from something, you're so afraid of it, it controls you. So today we're taking back the control. Does that sound good with everybody? I want you to let me know in the chat if that sounds good to you. Okay. I realized the partner thing via your other videos. I got rid of my girlfriend and now she's busy destroying someone else's inner peace. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm glad that you're on a different path. Sounds amazing to take back some control and at least start the process. Amen. So we're just going to do one more exercise together. Is everybody cool with that? Okay, awesome. So this one is fun. It's a little silly, but it's super fun and it's super effective actually. It's called the tense and relax exercise. This is just something I kind of made up. And where you are going to tense every single muscle in your body as tightly as possible, right? Arms, legs, ab, back, butt. We're going to hold it for 30 seconds and then we're going to release. Because the thing is, some of you might have done a scan of your body and you didn't know what your body was feeling, right? You didn't notice there was tension. You didn't notice anything. And so how are we going to relax if we don't know where to relax? So this is a really good exercise to, kind of force your body into relaxation. So on the count of 3, I want everybody to just tighten every single muscle that they can for, as hard as they can. Don't hurt yourself. And we're going to hold it for 30 seconds and then we're going to release together. Okay. So ready and go. Every muscle. I want you to clench your butt cheeks, your arms, your legs, your hands, your toes. Don't get a Charlie horse. I know those are awful. Hold it. Abs. Don't forget the abs. Lips. Do Professor McGonagall. 10 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Everybody take a big, deep breath. Just let it drop. Whenever I do this, I start laughing. It's so ridiculous. But when you tense every muscle in your body and you relax every muscle in your body, you can relax. Especially when you tense your leg and butt muscles, because they're the biggest muscles in the body, right? So they control a lot of the nervous system. And so, like I was saying, with all these exercises, everybody says meditation is the key, yoga is the key. These things will unlock your world. You need to do it for 15, 25 minutes a day. The whole point of these exercises is to get you into a state of self-regulation, is to make sure that every muscle in the body is relaxed so that you can re-engage the prefrontal cortex. That's the whole point. So it's not like any of these exercises are super duper special. It's just whatever works for you to help you regulate your nervous system. And so here's the thing. You're going to find whatever exercise works for you, and that's going to become your holy saint, right? But a few things I want to point out about this. It's not to avoid emotions. So the second you feel angry, you're like, oh my God, I got to regulate down into quiet again. Or the second I feel sad, oh my God, I got to regulate back down. Because emotions are important. What this is supposed to help you do is become the master of your emotions, the master of what your body is going through by observing it, understanding it, and saying, what do I want to do about this? Because emotions are energy in motion, and they're keys to guiding us where we need to go. If we never got angry, if we never got sad, we wouldn't have a pathway to the next part of our lives, right? We wouldn't have a pathway to joy. We wouldn't have a pathway to purpose and passion and mission. So it's not about getting rid of the emotions. It's about understanding them. Okay, is that clear for everybody? Awesome. I feel like I can breathe in more air. I thought I was tense enough, but this is different. Yes, 100%. Aquatic fitness always helps me self-regulate. That's awesome. Okay, perfect. So your take-home action item, whatever you're going to do after this. Oh, also, by the way, if you could go to that Google form after we're just done with that exercise and tell me what your state of being is in the moment, right? If anybody could just fill that out. On a scale of 1 to 10, how anxious are you? How are you feeling in your body? You don't have to lie, just be honest. I just want to see the data. Everybody just take a calm breath, you know, as you're doing it. But just to explain this as we're filling this out, this is your take-home action item, okay? This is what I explain to all of my clients in the first call when we first get in, is in order to move on to the next steps, like mother wound and father wound and childhood trauma and inner healing, childhood trauma and, you know, relationships and all of that stuff, we need to make sure that prefrontal cortex is lit up. So I need you to get yourself into a place of safety. Okay, so the first 10 to 15 minutes of the day, take that time for you. Everybody has a little bit of time right when they wake up in the morning. Before you answer emails, before you check your phone for text messages or read the news or the whole weight of the world is falling on your shoulders, you've just woken up from your 6, 7, 8 hours of sleep, whatever you get. And that will be your baseline for what you are between Bruce Banner versus Hulk. Right? And whatever your baseline is, even if it's up here, it's a lot easier to come down from here to here than it is to come down from here to here. So that's why we do it in the morning when we first wake up. One of the regulating exercises. And I put these as examples in your follow-up workbook. There's more, but I want you to do something like this: breath work, journaling, meditating, walking without music, yoga, a cold shower, or an ice bath, with the intention of relaxing every muscle in the body and saying, like, I'm safe, I'm good for the day, I'm ready to go, like, we're good. Because most of us, the second we wake up in the morning, we jump out of bed and we start looking at our phones, checking emails, checking work texts. We just get going. That's what a lot of the men who I coach, they do. They just wake up and they get to work. And they never take a second to think about themselves or their own self-care. And then by the time that they get done, maybe they go to the gym, but by the time you're at the gym, you're already so stressed out, you're already in Hulk, right? Or you're already so close to Hulk. So it takes you down a little bit, but not all the way. And so then you still have all the symptoms and you still have to go home and you have to drink. So I would rather prevent you from getting into Hulk when it's not necessary and being in Bruce Banner so you can do more of the things you love, become more productive, become more efficient, connect better with your spouse and partner. You would be so surprised at how many men I coach who have the most chaotic schedules. And the second we start doing something like this, we find that they're just so busy because they don't have boundaries. They're not taking time for themselves. They're not connecting with their partners, and they're just kind of going all over the place. The second you take this first 10, 15 minutes of the day to just organize yourself and reorient your thought process, you expand your time, which means you become more productive. You get your time back. You start connecting with people. Suddenly, you're not as busy, but you're doing more. You're doing better. So this is very important. And I know some of you might be thinking, will things like sex work or porn or, you know, going to the gym, and those are forms of regulation, but they're not forms that you can necessarily control, or they take you out of your body, right? Like going to the gym is helping you regulate your body. It's very good for you, but it's taking you out of your body. And I want you to go back into your body, at least in the beginning, so you can understand yourself, so you can understand where you're at, so you can take a look at how to control it. Okay? So does that make sense for everybody? And Bill, can I just ask you to mute for me, please? The way out. Is porn just an avoidance technique? That's a good question. I will answer that in a minute. I've been doing psilocybin therapy, and it only works if you use strains like Golden Teacher. Well, see, there's a thing to be said for every time we outsource our regulation to something else, right? If you outsource your regulation to something else, like I just said, porn or psilocybin or whatever, sex with another person, like you get that rush for a minute, but you're not teaching your body how to be safe. Tell me how that teaches your body how to be safe. You're just trying to go for the immediate gratification of relief, which is not the purpose here. I don't want you to have immediate gratification of relief. I want you to have long-term success with self-control. I want you to become masters of your minds. I want you to become masters of your bodies. I don't want you to have to feel like a slave to psilocybin or ayahuasca or even your counselor, right? I'm training you to be self-sufficient enough to know when you need to ask for help, not to rely on it, that you need it to survive, because all of you in this room are capable men. I will never look at you and say you're broken or something needs to be fixed. This isn't about fixing you. This is about giving you tools that you didn't have access to, that we didn't understand, that nobody knows or talks about unless they go to trauma therapies. I literally had to take trauma therapy courses to learn this, and it's the most basic things ever, right? So you all have the capability to gather self-control. We're not in a victim mentality here. So I love these comments, guys. Now, I would love to take Q&A. And after Q&A, I do have a special offer I would like to give you guys, but I do want to take your Q&A. So anybody has a question, just put it in the chat. Specific to this masterclass, please, or questions kind of involving what we did. I want to know what confused you, if you want me to go in depth with anything more. Okay, one question. What about all this and being a first responder? Exactly. So that's the thing. When we faced a lot of trauma, like traumatic events, like being a first responder, a police officer, someone in the military, a veteran, right? Your Hulk is constantly triggered. So when the body is constantly filled with cortisol and adrenaline, it becomes so used to the cortisol and adrenaline, it just becomes burnt out. Right? So you start to numb yourself to the environment. The only survival mechanism the brain has at that point is kind of dissociating from it. So what do? We make jokes about it. You just kind of laugh it off. But the thing is, you need to start to retolerate your body back to safety. That's why a lot of people come out of the military and they have PTSD, because the military taught you how to get into Hulk, but it didn't teach you how to get out of it. So now coming back into civilian life, everything is magnified. Everything feels like a threat, but it's really not. So once we actually get back in control, we can start to regulate that cortisol and adrenaline back down to safety. And we start to see normal life as safe again. Okay, these are really good questions, guys. Yeah, I have over 33 years of military first responder time, which is a lot of Hulk time. Absolutely it is. So that's another thing, guys. As you're doing this, please implore some self-compassion with yourself, because it doesn't just get fixed in a day, right? Your brain has created simple neural pathways to get where it wants to go, right? These survival skills are nothing but habits, right? And what you're doing when you're readapting the body to safety is creating a new habit. So it doesn't come instantly. It comes with time and practice. Just like going to the gym, you don't get results instantly. But as you keep going, you cannot fail. So readapting your body to safety is something that takes time, but it absolutely will work for you. And once it does, and the thing with PTSD, I'll just go back to that because I don't want to digress too much. If you have like CPTSD or PTSD or a lot of trauma that you have been ignoring, it's really, really good to have a support system where you can be safe with, because a lot of these things will start coming up. Because the second you feel safe, that's when you're able to cry. That's when you're able to be angry. That's when you're able to really let it all out. So having a safe space to do that with allows you to finish the story of PTSD. And then you're just someone who had PTSD, not someone who has it for the rest of their lives, because you can heal PTSD. Okay. Doesn't matter what trauma was. Doesn't matter what the trauma was versus focus on the healing. We're all built from past experiences, and I don't know what is normal versus what damaged me. That's a very good question. So the process of healing is the same for everybody in this biological sense, no matter what your trauma was, because trauma is subjective, right? The definition of trauma is the psychological impact of an event, not the event itself. So as long as you can focus on feeling safe and healing, the difference for you is going to be how long it takes and the certain people that you trust to be safe around. And this is the thing, like I said, remember in the beginning when I said you are born into relationship, it's going to be essential that you find a relationship that's safe, that you can finish the healing process of this, because we never quite heal by ourselves. So whether that's a therapist or a coach, whoever can be a safe space for you so that you can feel seen and heard and witnessed, that's going to be essential. Okay, these are great questions, guys. I know I should speak up more when I see things that need to be addressed, but so fearful of relationship being strained and leading to loss. Yeah, I mean, that's also a great question. So when you are feeling stressed about the relationship and feeling so fearful, I want you to do one of these self-regulation exercises and start to kind of list out why you're afraid. You know, what things would be you would be fearful about, and what you would really have to lose if that person was unable to support you or unable to talk about things that need to be talked about. Because if you lose someone for simply having a good communication style, then that person is fitting into maybe an old dynamic that you started with. On our path to healing, we're going to lose some people that we love because they are no longer resonant with where we're going. And actually, I would love to take some questions, guys. If anybody wants to come off of mute and ask me a question, I would love that. I just want to stop sharing for 1 second. So I want to see your faces. And I just want to call on anyone. Does anyone want to say out loud what their question is? Can I get a raised hand? I want like a physical raised hand. I'm going to look through the chat. Okay, Robert Chavez. Go ahead and unmute. I want you to ask your question.
Okay, my question is, me and my ex separated in September of last year, and I've been working very hard to let go, but for some reason, I can't let go of this woman because she was a narcissist and there was a lot of drama, but I'm having a hard time letting go and I don't know what to do. I'm tired of feeling like tired of this. I'm literally tired of this and I want to move on. And, you know, people say you're addicted and all this bullshit, which is bullshit because it's not an addiction. There's something triggered in me that caused this. And I just want to move on and just start my life.
So first, I just want you to do something with me and just take a big deep breath. So thank you so much for sharing that. And, you know, curiously, you said it's bullshit that this is an addiction. And I just want to know why you think that's bullshit. What about that stresses you out?
I guess maybe maybe I should not say bullshit. I think it doesn't explain the whole situation. It doesn't explain, an addiction doesn't explain what you went through with a narcissist. It doesn't. And it is, because I've done a lot of inner work. I have some vulnerabilities, I have some issues, and I'm working on that. But it is not just it's not an addiction. It's you're feeling like you have a need to make this person pay attention to you, and that's not healthy.
What part of that isn't an addiction? The need to make somebody pay attention to you and love you.
But at the same time, you just want, I don't know, it's just, for me, addiction doesn't seem, it's just such a generalized term. It doesn't define more of what is actually going on. It's part of it, but I guess it doesn't explain the whole situation.
Right, and it definitely won't explain the whole situation because like you said, everything that you've gone through cannot be encapsulated in one sentence, in one experience. But you just said the deepest wound, one of the deepest wounds that you just expressed is, I feel the need for this person to see me and to love me. And when we talk about the addiction our body has to survival, right? What you're feeling is I cannot survive if this person doesn't see me or love me, because that's the game of a narcissist, right? Making you feel so worthless and so isolated and so unimaginably unworthy that you feel like you cannot survive without them. So the addiction is not like, oh, I'm addicted to cocaine, it's fun, and like my brain is doing something. The addiction is, I feel like I'm going to die without this person, and I have to find some way to survive. Right now, your body and your brain, see, this is the fight that you're having, because your body logically is addicted to the need to survive, and it's connected to this person because that's how they made you feel. And logically, this is exactly what I was explaining. Logically, you're like, that's not the answer. I got to figure this out. I'm trying to logic my way out of this because it doesn't make sense. Why would I be attracted to someone? Why would I need to be loved by someone who treated me so horribly? That's the battle between the logic and the body. We are fighting our survival mechanism. Some part of you feels safe in doing that. And that's what you have to recognize. It's not just about the addiction. It's a part of you that feels safe with this cycle that you're stuck in. It's safer for you right now to long for that person than it is not to long for them. So once we can rewire the safety, where it's no longer safe to be attached to them, where it's no longer safe to need that love, that's when the cycle starts breaking. But I would really, really encourage you to have some self-compassion, because it's not your fault.
Oh, I know it's not my fault, but damn, it sucks being in this spot. And if I'm a freaking smart man, I'm a good looking man, and feeling like I wasn't worth shit is not a good feeling. And then to find out, yeah, long story short, she had her side guys, and I found out about that, and that really just sucked too. So anyway, namaste.
Yeah, and there's nothing else that it can do but suck. And I'm really sorry that you had that experience. But I have no doubts that you will make it through and be even stronger on the other side. And I know it seems like a long time, but September to now is not so long, depending on how long you were in the relationship for. And you have to think, just like the explanation of the addiction is not encapsulating the whole relationship, we can't just solve it with one thing. There's so many different facets that we have to use to go into our own healing journey. And there's a lot of men in here who can resonate with what you're going through. I see them in the chat, just totally resonating with it.
Eight years.
Yeah, 8 years. And you think from September to now, you're just going to be done with it? How can you break an addiction that was 8 years long in a short of time? This is the thing. We get so impatient with ourselves. Wait, I should be healed from this right now. How dare I take my time to heal from having my legs cut off from this? I want new legs right now, immediately. But the thing is, it's like baby steps. You are literally having to reprogram new neural pathways in your brain. Your brain has to find out a new way to function, a new way to survive. And it takes a village. It takes a village. And that's why I'm so grateful for all of you guys for being here right now, because you are the village, right? We cannot be a one-man island. That's exactly why I love doing what I do, because you guys are like, you're my team, right? Like when I was trying to do shit alone, it was awful. There's nothing more awful than feeling like you're alone in the world. And so that's part of like why I have this group today, guys, because I want you to connect with each other. I want you to resonate with each other. I want you to feel like somebody's got you and you've got somebody, because us having somebody also gives us a sense of purpose. And we need more of that in the world right now. We don't need more men feeling alone. We don't need more men saying they can do it all by themselves. We don't need more women going, I'm Miss Independent, I don't need no man. That's the opposite of what we need. We need to like actually be a village again. We need to actually be a team. So thank you so much for sharing, Robert. Does anybody else have a question that they would like to come on chat and say? Give me a little emoji hand raise, or raise your physical hand. I'm looking at some of these videos. Robert, you had a question? Okay, you can come off mute, ask your question.
Okay. I'm trying to divorce. I'm divorcing slowly.
Okay.
The question is it wrong that I'm trying to still be a nice guy? I mean, I take my own responsibility from messing up, you know, even if she's trying to throw everything on me, like I'm guilty for making her addicted to my kindness, even, you know, it sounds stupid. But I have a kid, 12, 11 years, going to 12 years old daughter, and I'm trying not to mess it up for her. So I'm trying to take it slow, you know, break slowly the bond, the emotional attachment, my still wife. She's, anyway, is it wrong or I should do it? Just leave, you know, because for me it would be easier, definitely. I would have time for myself.
Right.
I want time in the morning, for example, for myself to meditate, to have the half hour, you know, without noise around, which would help me. I already had therapy, so I'm healing. I'm not
okay. Perfect.
I'm not a beginner,
okay.
but I wanna know what other people think about. I should be suddenly breaking up, or it's okay if I break it slowly. I think I can control it.
Right. Okay, Robert. So it honestly sounds like you already know the best route. I'm not sure if you're just kind of like looking for validation, because I know it would be totally easy if we just like upend our lives and like, fuck it, do whatever we want. But it sounds like you really have a good head on your shoulders when it comes to this, that, you know, you have a child involved, there's somebody else involved. And even if the other person is acting up, we really have to think of who we want to be at the end of the day and who our children are watching us be and become. And even if we're divorcing from someone, that's still their parent, right? And so even if you have a narcissistic ex, I know that it's really sucks if somebody's treated you like shit. But if you have children involved, like, you have to say, who do I want to be in their eyes? And what kind of love am I showing them? Now, there's a difference between being a nice guy and not having any boundaries. There's a difference between being a nice guy and getting walked all over. So you can be kind and considerate to your partner and your spouse while saying this relationship is no longer serving us and me, and we should really think about moving forward. We should have a third party to help us kind of, you know, do things and just be copacetic, as opposed to, screw this, they're my enemy now, I'm going to do my own thing. That's not doing good for anybody. It's not even doing good for you. If you think that's doing something good for you, it's absolutely not. You know, unless you are in an emergency situation where your spouse is abusive or something like that, and you really need to get out for your own safety and for your children's sake, there's no reason not to be copacetic, because you want to be a good representative man. So great question, Robert. Thank you so much. Joe, you have a question?
Yeah.
Hey, Joe.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for taking my question and for this class and the material. I appreciate it very much. My issue is a little different. I've been divorced for 12 years and never remarried or anything, but I've been through several relationships, a couple of which was serious, but I find myself in a position now, and maybe this is a topic for a future class. I don't know. You can, you know, feel free to advise me on that, but I find myself in a situation where I'm actually become very emotionally unavailable. And I've recognized that I tend to have a repeating cycle and pattern of sabotaging my relationships just through my unavailability. I'm very busy man. I have my own business. I'm actually a farmer. So I'm very independent. I did the bulk of raising my boys into adulthood. And I just find myself very emotionally unavailable. It's like I have a very difficult time actually allowing myself to have a functional relationship with a partner, with a woman. So thank you.
Okay. And so is your question kind of like how you can solve that, or is it why?
Yeah, like maybe a little bit of both, or, you know, yeah, what's the best way to approach solving that? What would be good first steps to take, and allowing myself to truly be open to receiving love and support from somebody rather than keeping them at arm's length all the time because I don't trust my own judgment when it comes to women and relationships anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, you really just said one of the key answers in there. I don't trust my own judgment when it comes to women and relationships anymore. So what it sounds like is if you've started to develop stereotypical avoidant attachment style, which is where we kind of sense a little bit of closeness and then we're like, no thanks, not letting you get there, because we have all of this past experience of pain. And we will do anything to avoid pain. Humans do not stereotypically run towards pleasure. We run away from pain. So you're not thinking about all the good stuff that could happen if you were to open up to this person. You're not thinking about like, you know, marriage or coffee in the morning every morning or having a best friend. You're thinking about this person's really going to screw me if we break up. And I'm guessing that's a lot of men's experience in here. This person's going to screw me if we break up. And I just don't want that. And I'm better with my peace and my solitude. And so, you know, we have to make our way back to a secure attachment style, which is understanding that someone can be there for us, that they can meet our needs, and we can be in a true partnership. It's not just I'm an island over here and they're an island over here. It's kind of like we integrate and I can trust them and they can trust me. So like you said, there is actually going to be a future masterclass all about attachment styles. So obviously I can't get into all the nooks and crannies right here, but the main source of that is understanding how to trust yourself again when it comes to people. And it's understanding that trust isn't just something that you have to dump everything out all at once, but it's noticing little ways that we can start to trust someone so that we know when we can trust our own judgment of this person is good for me or not. Right? So I don't know if you've had a coach or a therapist or anything to kind of help you point out where you're triggered, when you start to self-sabotage, et cetera.
I really haven't. I went through some therapy, you know, just immediately post-divorce and going through it. But like I said, that was 12 years ago. Really nothing since then. And if you're going to have a future class on that, I look forward to attending it. I really do want to address this.
Okay. Okay, awesome. And just in the meantime, there's a book called Attached. If anybody wants to learn about the attachment styles, and you can, you know, listen to that or read that in the meantime, it'll give you a lot of background and you'll really be able to resonate, you know, with the avoidant attachment style or whichever one you kind of, you know, fit in anybody else here. So these are awesome questions, guys. And I just want to take a pause from that because I know that we are kind of running on time, and just share my screen because I do want to talk about, you know, what's kind of next. If anybody wants to know what's next or wants to know about future masterclasses. And this is also going to be in your follow-up. I just wanted to share one of my recent clients. His name is Chris, and he's so awesome. I actually don't know. He might be in the room right now. I'm not sure. But Chris did a video for me, a client review. And I really appreciate that from him because he was in a place like a lot of you guys are. He didn't feel like he was moving forward in his professional or personal life. He actually talks about in the video being on antidepressant medication and anxiety medication for 18 years and how it worked for him in the beginning because he was in law enforcement. But then it just kind of stayed the same for all the years of his life. And what we discovered in coaching is all the things that the depression and anxiety medication were covering up were just things that he didn't want to address in his life, things that he wanted to avoid because it was easier to avoid the hard things than it was to address them, but it was making him numb. You know, it wasn't giving him joy because everything was just kind of flatlined. And when our heart flatlines, what do? We die. When there's no interesting points in life and there's no down points in life, we're flatlined. So the whole point of this masterclass today is to teach you how to understand yourself in a way that you can deal with these ups and downs, not so that you can level out, not so that you can flatline. So you can take your baseline and then start to challenge yourself and to push that window of tolerance and have hard conversations and start setting your boundaries. I want you guys to go out and get life and become alive and find yourselves. And so I want to introduce to you the Better Man membership. And I called it the Better Man membership because I want you to feel better, do better, and be better as a community, because what we're facing right now is a wave of people not accepting masculinity, not accepting men isolating themselves, men killing themselves at a rate of 75% more than women. a lot of women are taught to band together and they talk about their emotions and they talk about their feelings, and men are taught to isolate and do everything by themselves and hold everything in. So much so that even when you have a group of guy friends, usually it tends to be that all your conversations are surface level. Because every client that I have come in, I'm like, have you ever talked to your friends about some of this stuff? And they go, oh, my friends aren't really like that. But if I'm talking to a bunch of men and they're all saying my friends aren't really like that, but at the same time, they're saying they want the vulnerable conversations, they want to talk about something deep. So something's just not clicking. So we seem to have this huge facade going on, even between us as brothers, that we're not showing. So I created this membership as a way to not only give these lessons every month, because that's what it is. It's all of these things that we're going to go over, right? A masterclass a month about healing trauma, setting boundaries, healthier relationships with spouses and partners, how to become a better dad for your kids and for your community. All the things like healing insecure attachment, healing childhood wounds, moving from negative self-talk to a positive belief system, how to make deeper connections that you can actually depend on, right? How do we garner that trust? All of these things encapsulated into a masterclass each month, interviews from experts. If you've ever been to my Year of the Man Summit, you know that I have, friends who kind of come in who are experts in these fields, like Sarah Dawn Moore, and therapists and doctors who all kind of give their expertise specifically for men so that you can have the resources that you need that you've been denied for most of your life, right? You get the community on Kajabi, you get each other, and you get to vote on the masterclasses each month. So obviously there's a lot of them. And now that you've got the foundational one covered, you should be able to tap into any of them at any given point. So I kind of want to make this a very community-led group where I want you guys to feel like leaders. And I actually want you to take this and I want you to go be leaders in your community. Whether you join the Better Man membership or not, I want you to feel like a better man the second that you walk out of this room. Anytime I make content, I want you to feel like a better man. And I want you to show that to your community. I don't care if you have kids or a wife or a spouse, you're interacting with someone every day. And I want this to be a community that wants to change the world. And that's how it might sound stupid, might sound like real Miss America right now, but like I want you guys to know that you have an impact with everybody that you meet. And if we can create a community of men who support each other, who are vulnerable, who say, I'm going to stand in my power. There's 100 men who have been in this room the whole time. 100 men go out of here and change the lives of their communities. What do you think the next generation is going to grow up with? Do you think it's going to have to grow up with the same crap you guys did? Or is it going to be a little different? Because that's what I'm looking forward to. And I want you guys to be a part of it. So these are just like some of the topics. I made up some like little slides, connecting to your masculinity and power. I chose this because it was funny and it made me laugh. Some people it might make feel awkward. Finding your core values and truth as a man, how to tap into your masculine and be a leader, how to master self-respect and respect those around you, right? How to walk into a room and have that power. Some guys just got that it factor, and I want you guys to have that it factor too. A to Z of attachment styles, how to become secure. Jill, this note's for you, right? Explaining all 4 attachment styles and how they show up in men specifically, right? All of these masterclasses are geared towards men. They're not just going to be in general. I'm going to point them out exactly like I explained the window of tolerance, exactly like I explained Hulk mode. How does it show up for you specifically as a man? And how do we get back to becoming secure? How do we get back to specific exercises for if you're anxious or avoidant? And then things like finding purpose and passion again, finding your mission, ways to have self-discovery, what lights us up, what brings us that joy, formula for what makes life worth living. And so these were both videos. I didn't know if you guys wanted to watch them or not, so I'm just pausing them. But this was another client named Ryan, and he is like the stereotypical go-getter. So if I had to put these two in a category, Ryan is a stereotypical like the not tolerant, and Chris would have been the too tolerant, right? So Ryan's a go-getter. He gets things done. You can tell from the energy in this video. And he's talking about how when he spends his money, like people see all the stuff that he has. He's a guy who outsources his regulation to stuff. He's got a boat, he's got a nice house, and everybody watches him and they say, oh my God, look at all that stuff. And what he says is like the true fulfillment comes from the self-work. because all of the abundance that I get from 2022 onward comes from the coaching that I did, right? It helps you get, yes, more stuff, but also just the joy, the peace that you feel, the ease in which it comes to you. Most people don't do what needs to be done to get the things that can't be taken away, because you can lose your house, you can lose your job, you can lose your boat, you can lose your sanity, or you can do the work. And then no one can take that away from you. Your pride, your integrity, your values, your purpose, your mission. You no longer need permission for someone to respect you at that point, right? A lot of us are looking for, people who are going to respect us, people who are going to be submissive to our energy. And that's the wrong target. The right target is, how can we be so firm and so convicted in our goals and where we're going that it doesn't matter who's in the room. It doesn't matter what they think about me, because I know. I want you guys to harness that kind of confidence without feeling like you have to belittle someone else in the process, because sometimes we go into that realm and we think, oh yeah, I'm awesome. And then we shit on women, or we crap on our ex. I don't want you to have that attitude. In none of my videos do I ever say, women are the problem. I'll say how women don't understand certain things about men. But my goal isn't to bash anyone. My goal is to help you look inside of yourself and be the solution to your own problems. Because once we take full responsibility, we can do anything. So this is a masterclass once a month with another expert once a month. All of it's going to be recorded, stored in Kajabi. After this promo, it's going to be $147 a month and then $1,500 for a lifetime. Today, if you want it, or the next couple of weeks, it's going to be $99 for the month, $997 for the lifetime, so less than $100 a month. And I don't want to hard sell you on this, guys. What I want to tell you what the difference is between this and my content, because obviously you've seen a lot of stuff in my content, right? You can get the content for free. This is obviously a more strategic setup way to get access to the information, but it's also the community and it's access to me, right? Like, I'm here answering your questions. I'm going to be there. It's going to be a much more intimate group, obviously. And you're going to get commitment from me that I'm going to be there for you. Right? So if you don't want to buy it, like, no pressure, like, I really don't want this to be a sales pitch, because I want you guys to take away from this masterclass what it was. And this is just to the people who feel like they want to continue the work. Maybe you want to join 1 month for a specific masterclass. It's kind of like every masterclass is $100, right? But if you get access to the early bird, you get a lifetime. Any content that I create from now on moving forward, you get access to the whole library, all of the experts that I have in there, the experts, everything's going to be live. So anyone who I bring in, you get to ask them questions. So that's essentially what you're getting for that. And I would love to see you in there. I would love to hang out with you guys every month, and have this community where we feel better, do better, and be better as men, and help the next generation. So that's all, guys. I love ya. I'm going to stop sharing. I want to know if anybody has any more questions on either that offer, the masterclass. Everything will be sent in the email if you want to join. I would love to see you in there. But does anybody have any questions right now before we get off the call? Either in the chat or on video that they want to do? Oh my gosh, there's so many chats I missed. And also, if everybody on the Google form could fill out your honest opinion about how you feel about the masterclass. I just want you to be totally honest about, did you get value from this? Did you get what you expected from this? I know it might've been a little different than some of you thought, but I want to make sure that you at least got something out of it that you can take away. And in your follow-up workbook, there are more links to YouTube videos, such as sound baths, meditations, tapping exercises. There's books in there, suggested reading that kind of go with this. I think there's 38 pages in that follow-up book. It's basically an ebook, so that no matter what, this is the foundation. So if you go with a different coach, if you have other learning that you've done in the past, when you implement these exercises, it should start coming back to you. This is the foundation for healing. How long do we have to get the early bird rate? I think it's going to be available for 2 weeks. Awesome, guys. Okay, so it doesn't look like anybody else has any more questions. So I'm going to say thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you. The recording will be up within 24 to 48 hours. And I hope you have a great rest of your day, guys. Happy Sunday. Bye. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Elise. Appreciate it.
Bye. Thank you.